Welcome back into the show. Let's talk a little bit about what comes into play tomorrow. We'll be looking at energy after results through from the likes of Oil Search. Rallied well, 3.25%. Adam Dawes as well. Beach sat up nicely, and Santos, of course, the most marginal producer. There's a link though, and I want to get onto this though with Pete McGuire too, because if we move across into bullion, which is kind of, naturally you land on the biggest producer domestically for some kind of a pulse check.
Yes.
There are some choppy outlook calls coming into play now on the stock in terms of its costs rising in the last set of results, and our outlook's not looking to that end all that rosy. Would you agree with this?
So we're talking about Newcrest?
Yeah, we are talking Newcrest.
Yeah. So, one of the big things that they've had is that they are one of the lowest cost producers out there globally. I think if there's talk of extra sort of corporate costs, extra exploration costs, that's going to bite or eat into that cost of production. Sometimes companies have to do that to maintain growth or to keep the business running. And really, Newcrest has done well, and Lahire, they've got that. That's been a troublesome asset for them. They've done that well. So, a little bit extra there, but it does seem that result or that sort of even the dividend was a little bit messy from my perch. And
you would have to say, if that's happening to the biggest, what of the fortunes of those underneath? I mean, that's one question obviously to be asking into the future. But Pete McGuire from XM.com, let's go there live to our Sydney CBD studio, which is where we find Pete this afternoon. Pete, your views, just outlook for bullion at such a turbulent time like this, everything known, of course, about the US connection on Trump now. What's coming up? Because you've got the Jackson Hole event to swerve the dollar. Are you seeing that as going to be the next driver? Maybe further greenback weakness or rather strength? Which side of the ledger do you sit on?
Well, good afternoon, Carson. I think you probably see a little bit further weakness in that US dollar. The dollar index is sitting at that 93 handle. I think there's probably the potential to take a 92. Everyone's keeping a close eye on Jackson Hole, but also the other side, we've seen gold have a lovely run up over the last couple of weeks and sitting at that just shy of 1,300. Now, Steve Mnuchin from the Secretary, he's also realised at Fort Knox that the gold is actually there, Carson, so that's a good sign, and I think there's more upside yet.
Do you have a sort of a target by year end, a price target in place, a breakout from these levels to any great degree, or it holds positioning rather than falls in any significant way?
Well, I think it'll trend higher. I wouldn't be surprised to take a 1320, 1330 sort of number. May trend higher from there. Let's just see what happens to US dollar. The outliers have got to be from a geopolitical. Where does President Trump, what happens to North Korea? Does anything escalate from there? But also where that US dollar trades. Precious metals, base metals have all had a lovely run up. And if you put your mind across to the likes of copper and zinc and so on, they've also contributed, and I think the precious is just going, strength on strength. So, I think certainly through the 1,300 handle, it's hard to put a headline where it'll end up, but I'd say 1,330 is potential, maybe even a 1,350.
And Adam, just back on the Newcrest story, because just to put the numbers out there for what they are, downgrading the FY18 outlook analysts due to a doubling of exploration expenses as well as the high single-digit increase in corporate costs. But on those doubling of exploration costs, have the easy gains been made, frankly, in terms of mining ops? Now they're needing to go the next mile, if you like, and that's just bringing home to roost that much more difficulty at play here. Doubling is not something to ignore. The profit outlook's going down 100 mil or more than 10%.
Yeah, I mean, these companies have to continue to explore. They have to continue to keep going out and finding new assets or finding extra acreage inside of their tenements that they've got at the moment. Then, it comes down to, is it an open cut versus underground, those kinds of things. So, they have to do that. I also looked at Northern Star's results today, and that was a fantastic result. They net profit higher, but revenue was a little bit lower. But
and the dividend stood out there, right?
And the dividend was certainly there, so it definitely exceeded our guidance. So, Pete's right. The gold price is really sort of, I guess, putting a base under these gold companies, and maybe they're looking now saying, okay, well, we think the gold price is going to go higher, so let's put some more exploration on the table and let's see where it goes.
It's interesting. Newcrest payout depends on the strength of its free cash flow versus that payout policy, which is different. It's volume growth and price movements, gold price moves.
Yeah.
Determine it. Peter, final thought for the week. What would it be?
I think you'd have to. Well, I think first, well, you're looking at energy, Carson. The jury's out. Are we going to just oscillate between that $46 to $48, $49 level? And I think yes. They're cutting as far as the US is concerned, OPEC and Russia and imports there. So I think there's concern, but the outlier has got to be what happens over the next couple of days. Is there anything, weather outages or any other stories that are going to make those markets increase, and that could be a falling US dollar. So keep an eye on Jackson Hole.
All right. I thought you might have been a delegate there for a minute, Peter.
Oh, no, Carson.
All right, some good salmon fishing, fly fishing.
Yes, exactly right.
All right, I'd love some crosses if you can make it over. I know it's last minute, but you've risen to the occasion before. We'll talk to you soon. Pete
Thank you very much.
From XM.com. There's a programming note, just a reminder, top of the hour, and Andrew Mackenzie, appointment interview with the CEO, Tiki Tonight is the destination on that. We take a break. I want to thank Adam Dawes from Shaw's. Adam, you're in and locked and loaded for the final count. That means we're going to be joined by Helen Daly and Peter Switzer and Henry Jennings from Marcus Today, all live next.